We continue now at the top of Daf Samach Aleph and Mesechet Kesuvos. This is Kesuvos Daf 69a. The Gemara continues, Tolale Rav l'Revi bein Nechiti. Rashi over here explains, Tolale Rav l'Revi bein Nechiti, Shalach lo Igeres Shalomim. He sent him, Rav sent to Rebbe a letter of greetings. V'tola she'ela zu bein Ashitim. In between the lines, he put in the following question. Ha'achin sheshibdu mahu. What if you have brothers and they take their property, they mortgage their property? What's the halach in terms of the sisters now collecting for their dowries from that property? Now, it's not clear 100% what he means sheshibdu, and the Gemara will clarify. So, have a Yosef Reb Chia kamei. So, Reb Chia was sitting in front of him. Amar Lei said to him, Machru o Mishkano. So, what exactly is the question over here? Did they sell the property, or did they take the property and they put it up as collateral for something that they owed? Rashi over here says, have a Yosef Reb Chia kamei de Rebbe, kishabasa sheila zu lefan of Rebbe Chia was sitting there in front of Rebbe when this question came before him. Amar Lei Rebbe Chia, my shibdu. What does shibdu mean? The kami boile Machru o Mishkano. Does it mean to say that they sold this property, or does it mean to say that they made it as a guarantee? They made it as a collateral. And the Gemara continues, Amar Lei, so he said back to him, my nafkamina, what's the difference? Bein machru, bein shemishkanu, whether they sold it or whether they just put it up as a collateral. Motzian leparnasa, the halacha is you are allowed to take that property and use it for the dowry, for the parnasa. V'ein motzian lemizonos, but you cannot use it for mizonos, you cannot use it for sustenance. And the Gemara continues, V'rav, so when Rav sent the question, he machru kami boile nichtov le machru. If he was asking about property that was sold, he should have written the word sold in there, not use the word shibdu. And he mashkano kami boile nichtov Mishkan. If he was talking about a mashkan, he should have wrote mashkan. Again, why is he phrasing it in this way? That's not clear. And the Gemara says, Rav Tarvayu kami boile. Actually, Rav was asking about both of them. V'savrin, he thought to himself as follows: Iksivna le machru. If I write into the question machru, so hanichi shalach li demotzian. It'll be good if he sends back an answer that we're allowed to take that property and use it for the daughter. Kol shekain mishkano, because if you're allowed to take sold property and use that for the dowry, certainly you can take property that was just pledged as a collateral. And he shalach li ein motzian. But however, let's say he answers me that we're not allowed to use that property. So akati mishkano kami boili. So I'll still have a question: what do we do in a situation of mashkon? And the other way also, iksivna le mashkano. If I wrote into the question only the question by mashkon, so ishalach li de'ein motzian. So if he says that you're not allowed to use the property when it's put up as collateral, kol shekain machur. Certainly, if the property is sold, you're not allowed to take it from those who bought it in order to use it as a dowry. But ishalach li motzian. But if he says you are allowed to use it, so akati machur kami boili. I'll still have a question: what if they actually sold the property? Can you use that property for the dowry? So therefore, he reasoned echtov le shibdu to mashmahachi umashmahachi. So therefore, I'll write into the question shibdu. It's mashma both ways, and then I'll get an answer to both questions. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Yochanan Amar, and Rabbi Yochanan says, Echot zeh v'echot zeh, whether we're talking about parnasa or mizonos, ein motzian, you cannot use this property, whether it's pledged property, whether it's sold property, you cannot use it for these purposes. And the Gemara continues, they had the following question, Rabbi Yochanan lo shmiya lehad Rebbe. Is it that according to Rabbi Yochanan, he never heard what Rebbe said? That's why he's arguing with Rebbe. V'ishmiya lehav mekabele, and if he heard what Rebbe said, he would have accepted it. Odil mashmiya le, or maybe he did hear Rebbe's answer, v'lo mekabele, and he did not accept the answer. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, come and hear a proof from the following machlokas amoraim. This is going to be a machlokas between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina. The itmar, because we learned the following machlokas amoraim. Misha meis v'hiniach shtei banus uven. Let's say somebody dies and he leaves over 2 daughters and a son. V'kidma harishona v'not le'isr nechasim. Now the first daughter, she quickly takes 1/10 of the property for her dowry. Now the second daughter, she doesn't get a chance to get her 1/10 for her dowry until the son dies, and now they're both inheriting all of the property. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, so Rabbi Yochanan says, Shniya Vitra, that second daughter, she's mevater, she gives up on her dowry. She'll just collect the regular Yerusha together with her sister, but she will not be able to collect the additional 1/10 for her dowry. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina says, he responds to Rabbi Yochanan, he says, what are you talking about? Gedola mizu amru. They said even greater than this. Rebbe paskined even more than this. He said, Motzian leparnasa, vein motzian lemizonos. He said, when it comes to parnasa, you're even allowed to take, let's say somebody bought the property, you can collect it from them. You can't do that for mizonos, but you can do that for parnasa. So therefore, you see, again, Rabbi Chanina is quoting Rebbe here, you see that you can even take from people who purchased the property. Viat amrit shniya vitra, and you're saying over here in a situation of Yerusha, where the property is sitting right in front of us, that second sister, she gives up on her dowry. That doesn't make sense. And so the Gemara now says you can conclude from this machlokas Rabbi Yochanan and Chanina whether he heard what Rebbe had said. Via Misa, now if it was true that Rabbi Yochanan did not know what Rebbe said, he should have said whoever said such a thing. It must be that Rabbi Yochanan also knew what Rebbe said. And the Gemara says no. V'dilma, maybe. Liolam lo shmiya le. Maybe Rabbi Yochanan never heard what Rabbi said. He didn't know what Rabbi Chanina was quoting. V'chishmiya le kabel, and had he really heard it, he would have accepted it. V'shani hasam diika ravach beisa. And maybe the explanation is it's different over there, because over there in this particular situation, there's a big profit that she's getting from the property anyway. She's about to inherit all of the property, and therefore maybe Rabbi Yochanan was saying regardless, it doesn't make any difference about this halacha of motziin leparnasa v'en motziin lemizonos. Over here, where she's taking a great amount of the property as a Yerusha, she certainly just forgoes and she gives up on the dowry, which is just 1/10 of the property. And according to that, it comes out that this case by the Yerusha is really not connected at all to a situation of being motziin from lakuchos, of taken from those who purchased the property. But the Gemara continues, Amar le Rav Yemer le Rav Ashi. Rav Yemer said to Rav Ashi, Ela me'ata, but according to that, Ashkecha metzia bi'alma. Let's say she found just a metzia, she found some lost object, and she profited. Deika ravach beis, and now she's made a lot of money. Hachanami delo yavinan lo yisr nechasim. Are we also going to say she doesn't get the 1/10 because she has income from somewhere else? And so the Gemara says, no, that's not really a question. Amar le, he said back to him, Ano ravach beis mehani nichse kamina. I'm talking about the profit of the household from that very same property. In other words, if she's inheriting from this very same set of property because the brother died, so then we say that extra 1/10 we don't have to worry about, she's mevater. But if she would just find profit from some other area, she's not necessarily mevater on that 1/10 for the dowry. And the Gemara continues, Amar Ameimar says, Bas Yoreshes Have, daughter is considered an inheritor. When it comes to the dowry, she's considered like she's inheriting the property, that 1/10 of the property. And the Gemara continues, Amar Le Rav Ashi li Ameimar. So Rav Ashi said to Ameimar, Ilu boy lisaluka bezuze. Does that mean to say that, let's say the other people who are inheriting, let's say they want to pay her off, they want to give her cash instead of property. Hachanami delo matzi lisluka. Does that mean they can't remove her? Does that mean they can't pay her off with money? Amar Le, he said, yes, that's exactly what it means. They can't pay her off with money. And he continued further, what if they want to pay her off and give her a specific piece of property? So also in that way they can't remove her, they can't just give her a specific piece of property for the dowry. Amar Le'in, he said to him, yes, they're not able to do that. But the Gemara continues, Rav Ashi says, Rav Ashi is arguing with Ameimar. Rav Ashi says, Bas balas chov have, the daughter, when she's collecting her dowry, she's considered not like an inheritor, but like a creditor. And the Gemara says, V'yaf Ameimar hadar bei, and even Ameimar, he actually retracted, and he agrees with Rav Ashi that she's a balas chov. D'yamar Rav Menyume breder Rav Nechume, because Rav Menyume, the son of Rav Nechume, said, Hava ko'imno kamei da Ameimar, I was standing in front of Ameimar, V'yasoi ha'itzo lekamei, and there was a certain woman who came in front of him, the Havas kaboy yisr nechasim, and she wanted 1/10 of the property, she wanted her dowry. V'chazise ledaite di boy lesluke bezuze have misalik, and I understood from the way he was acting that had the brothers wanted to remove her by giving her cash, he would have agreed to that. Because I heard that the brothers were saying to her, Ilu havilon zuze, if we had money, slikna bezuze, we'd remove you with the money. V'yishtik v'lo amarlu v'lo midi, and he was quiet, and he didn't say anything at all, and it's clear that Ameimar would have agreed to such a stipulation. And the Gemara continues, V'hashta di'amr balas chov have, but now that we're saying that she is a creditor, so whose creditor is she? The Abba or Dachi? Is she the creditor of the father who has died, or is she considered a creditor of the brothers? And the Gemara says, Lamai nafka mina, what practical difference does that make? And the Gemara answers, Lamigva levenin is shalo b'shvua v'ziboris b'shvua. The difference is she collecting the intermediate kind of property without taking an oath, or is she collecting the inferior kind of property and she's taking an oath? Rashi over here says, Lamigva beinin is v'shalo b'shvua, ibalas chov da'aba have. If she's considered a creditor of the father, eina gova ella min haziboris. First of all, she's only going to collect from the inferior property. V'yenin nefras ella b'shvua, and furthermore, she can only collect with an oath. Shalom the kaimalon, she has to take an oath that she didn't yet collect any property for this purpose. The kaimalon, because we've established you're only allowed to collect from orphans from the inferior property. And also, when you do collect from them, you have to take an oath that you're actually owed the money. Now, if she happens to be their creditor, then it's not considered like she's collecting from the property of orphans, because she's considered their direct creditor, and therefore in that situation she'd be able to take from the intermediate property, and she would not require a shvuah. And the Gemara continues, so what's the halacha in this case? And the Gemara says, Tashma, come and hear the following proof. The Ravina agve levrati de Ravashi, because Ravina allowed the daughter of Ravashi to collect. When Ravashi died, he allowed her to collect mimar berei de Ravashi, from Mar, the son of Ravashi, beinonis v'shalo b'shvua. She collected the intermediate property without an oath, so you see that she's his direct creditor. And further, the Gemara says, mi berei de Rav Sama berei de Ravashi. She also collected from the son of Rav Sama, the son of Ravashi. Rav Sama, the son of Ravashi, had already died during the lifetime of Rav Ashi. So from him, there she's collecting from an orphan, so Ziboris b'Shavua. So there she collected the inferior property with an oath, but you see in any case that the sister is considered to be a direct creditor of her brothers. And the Gemara continues, Sholach le Rav Nechemya Breder Rav Yosef le Rabba bar Rav Huna Zuta min Nahardoi. Rav Nechemya, the son of Rav Yosef, sent to Rabba bar Rav Huna Zuta from Nahardoi the following: Ki asyo ha'idasol lekamach, when the particular woman comes before you, Agva iser nechasim, you should collect on her behalf from 1/10 of the property for the dowry. Afilu mitzda rubla, even from the area where the millstone is sitting, that's also considered like karka. You can collect from that as well for this purpose. And the Gemara continues along the same lines. Amar Rav Ashi says, Ki avinan bei Rav Kahana, when I was by Rav Kahana, have a magvina nafilo me'amla devese. They even allowed to collect this 1/10 for the dowry, even from the rents. Let's say they rented out houses, since that's coming ultimately from karka, that also could be used for this purpose. And the Gemara continues, Shalach le Rav Anan le Rav Huna. Rav Anan sent Rav Huna the following message: Huna chavrin, Huna our friend, Shalom, peace unto you. Ki asyo ha'itasol lekamach, when this particular woman comes before you, Agva iser nichse, you should give her 1/10 of the property. Haviyazav Rav Sheshes Kamei. Now, when Rav Huna received this message, Rav Sheshes was sitting in front of him. Amar le, so he said to him, Rav Huna said to Rav Sheshes, Zil Eimle, go give him the following message, meaning go tell Rav Anan the following response. Uveshamti heimandalo amar le, and you should know, anybody who doesn't say over the way I say it, if you don't say it exactly how I say it, you should be beshamti, you're going to be put in chayrim. He was going to respond to him very sharply. He wanted to make sure Rav Sheshes gave the exact message to Rav Anan, and the message was as follows: Anon, I have the following question for you. When I'm giving this property, this 10th of the property, should it be from land or should it be from metaltalin, from movable objects? And further, another question. Uman Yosef be Marzicha Beresha. Who's the one that sits at the head of the Marzicha? Also, Rav Sheshes lakami de Rav Anan. So Rav Sheshes went in front of Rav Anan. Amar Lei said to him, Ma Rabba Rav Huna Rabbe de Rabba. The master is like a Rav, but Rav Huna is like a Rebbe of the Rav. V'shamute shamit mandalo Amar Lei, and he's going to put in chayrim somebody who doesn't give the message properly. V'lav the shamit, and if not for the fact that there was this threat of excommunication, lo have a kaimna, I wouldn't say the following. But here is the message. Anon mi mekarkoyo mi metaltalin. Number one, anon, are we collecting from karka or metaltalin? And further, the next part of the message, uman yosef be marzicha beresha, who sits at the head of the marzicha? So Azor Rav Anan lekami de Marukva. So now Rav Anan, he went in front of Marukva. Amar Lei said, Chazimar hechi shalach li. Look what kind of message Rav Huna is sending me. Rav Huna anan. Rav Huna is sending me a message calling me anon. V'yod marzicha de shalach li lo yadana ma'ni. And furthermore, I have no idea what a marzicha is. What exactly does this mean? Amar Lei said to him, Emily, easy, tell me, my friend, exactly what happened, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Samech Tes Amud Beis.